The observation deck of the Valiant Dawn hummed with tension as Ophelia Martinez pressed her palm against the reinforced view. Beyond the transparent alloy, the Krell armada stretched across the void like a swarm of metallic locusts, their bioships pulsing with bioluminescent threat displays. "They're hailing us again," Daniel Chen announced from the communications station, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Same message: surrender or be vaporized. Ophelia turned from the viewport, her brown eyes reflecting the red alert lights that bathed the bridge. As the Valiant Dawn's chief engineer, she wasn't supposed to be on the command deck during a crisis. But when the captain had been killed in the first volley and the XO lay unconscious in medical bay, the chain of command had shattered like glass. "Tell them we're considering their offer," she said, moving toward the captain's chair with deliberate steps. Daniel's eyebrows shot up. "You're not actually, of course not." Ophelia dropped into the seat, feeling the weight of 300 souls pressing down on her shoulders. "But I need 5 minutes. Can you stall them?" "I can try." Daniel's fingers moved again, sending a carefully worded response into the void. "What are you planning?" Ophelia's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Something stupid, something very, very human. The Krell had been terrorizing the outer colonies for 6 months, their superior technology making every engagement a massacre. They were stronger, faster, and their ships could regenerate damage that would cripple human vessels. Every tactical manual, every simulation, every battle had ended the same way: human defeat. But Ophelia had never been good at accepting limitations. "Bridge to engineering," she called into the comm system. "Rodriguez, are you there?" "Here, Chief," came the static-laden response. "We've got hull breaches on decks 7 through 9, and the port nacelle is hanging by a prayer." "Forget the hull breaches. I need you to do something insane." Ophelia leaned forward, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. "Can you rig the warp core to produce a graviton pulse?" Silence stretched across the channel. Then, "Chief, that's not how warp cores work. The graviton emitters are part of a completely different system, I know that. But can you make it work?" Another pause. "Maybe if I bypass the plasma regulators and route everything through the deflector array, but it would destroy the core. We'd be dead in space." "We're already dead in space if we don't try." Ophelia glanced at the tactical display. The Krell commander's ship, a massive dreadnought twice the size of any human vessel, sat at the center of the formation like a bloated spider. "How long?" "For minutes, maybe 3 if I don't care about safety protocols." "Don't care about safety protocols." Daniel had been listening, his face growing paler with each exchange. "Ophelia, what exactly are you planning?" She turned to him, and this time her smile was genuine. "Hold my beer, you don't have a beer." "It's an expression, Daniel. A very human expression." She pulled up a tactical overlay, her fingers moving with practiced precision. "The Krell think they're superior because they've never lost an engagement. They're arrogant. They always position their command ship at the center, protected by their fleet." "Right, which makes it impossible to target, unless you're not trying to shoot it." Ophelia highlighted a path through the enemy formation. "A graviton pulse strong enough would create a localized gravity well. Nothing too dramatic, just enough to pull everything nearby toward a single point." Understanding dawned in Daniel's eyes. "You want to use the Krell fleet as a weapon against itself. Their ships regenerate, but they're still physical objects with mass. If we can create enough gravitational force at the center of their formation, they'll all crash into their own commander." Daniel let out a breath that was half laugh, half disbelief. "That's the stupidest plan I've ever heard." "Thank you. I wasn't complimenting you. I choose to take it as one." Ophelia opened a shipwide channel. "All hands, this is Chief Engineer Martinez. In approximately 2 minutes, we're going to try something that has never been attempted in the history of humans. If it works, you can tell your grandchildren about it. If it doesn't, well, at least we went down swinging. Engineering, you have the con." The next 90 seconds felt like hours. Ophelia watched the power readings spike as Rodriguez and his team performed what could only be described as controlled chaos in the engineering bay. The warp core wind, its safety systems, screaming protests that were systematically overridden. "Krell Commander is hailing again," Daniel reported. "He says our time is up." "Tell him," Ophelia paused, considering. "Tell him humanity sends its regards." Daniel's fingers froze. "Really? Too dramatic. Little bit centered anyway." The message went out. On the view screen, the Krell dreadnought began charging its primary weapons, energy coalescing along its organic hull in patterns that resembled veins filled with fire. "Rodriguez," Ophelia called, "graviton pulse ready. I can't believe this is actually working. Fire on my mark." Ophelia watched the targeting solution, waiting for the precise moment when the Krell formation tightened. They were moving closer, confident in their victory, eager to deliver the killing blow. Perfect mark. The valiant Dawn shuddered as every ounce of power rushed through jury-rigged systems never meant to carry such loads. The deflector array blazed white-hot, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then physics took over. Space itself seemed to compress at the center of the Krell formation. The dreadnought lurched forward, its massive bulk suddenly subject to forces it couldn't overcome. The surrounding ships, caught in the same gravitational tide, accelerated toward their commander like moths drawn to a flame. Metal screamed. Organic holes tore. The Krell fleet, so precisely arranged, became a crushing sphere of destruction as vessel after vessel slammed into the dreadnought at relativistic speeds. When it was over, nothing remained but debris and silence. Daniel stared at the view screen, his mouth open. Holy ... yeah. Ophelia slumped in the captain's chair, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The warp core was dead, the ship crippled, but they were alive. That was the most reckless, insane, brilliant thing I've ever seen. Ophelia closed her eyes, allowing herself one moment of relief. That's humanity for you. We don't win because we're stronger or smarter. We win because we're too stupid to know when something's impossible. Around them, the crew erupted in cheers that echoed through every deck of the battered ship. And somewhere in the void, the galaxy learned a new lesson about the species that called themselves human. Never underestimate someone who opens with "Hold my beer."